In order to attract the sharks, the group of desperate teenagers went so far as to dump a bucket of blood into the sea. Soon, two sharks smell the smell of blood. A boatload of people immediately become extremely excited, but watching sharks on board is not fun at all. Two sisters get into a cage with the help of their friends and decide to have a close encounter with a shark. However, the adventure always comes at a price, and as the cage descends to a position of 10 meters, a school of cute small fish swims past them, which makes the two excited by the magical experience. When the two were about to take a picture of this beautiful scene, the camera accidentally slipped from their hands, and they didn't wait to grab the camera. Suddenly, however, instead of being scared, the two sisters were excited to see the shark swimming in the sea, which gave them a thrilling experience to feast their eyes on. At this time, the steel rope suddenly slipped a little. The cautious sister immediately asked a friend what happened. The answer was just a slide, but the sister felt that something was wrong, urged the sister to leave. He just felt that the iron cage has a problem. Sure enough, just when the two people were about to surface, the steel rope suddenly broke. The iron cage quickly lost control, quickly sinking. In less than 10 seconds, they were 20 meters underwater, and in order to prevent the impact, the two men clung to the top of the iron cage, but the fall was powerful, knocked them unconscious and crashed them to the bottom of the ocean. After a long time, the two sisters woke up from the panic. The sister immediately comforted the sister to calm down. The more panic, the faster the oxygen consumption. At this point, the two sisters realized that they had fallen to a depth of 47 meters, and there was no signal, so they had to make their own way back to shore. Sister is not going to sit still, who take off the oxygen tank want to drill out of the iron cage, who knows the mask stuck head, how can not go out. Helpless, he could only return to the iron door, take a deep breath, take off the mask, rely on a slim figure to quickly drill out, and immediately put on the mask, which left the iron cage without danger. Then, with all his might, he pushed the hooks away from the cage, then continued to swim to the surface. Halfway to the swim, and finally got in touch with friends on the ship, learned that friends said that the rescue team had been on the way. My sister immediately returned to the iron gate, told the good news to my sister. The two sisters smiled with relief, began to suffer in the seabed waiting. Who knows that two people waited for more than 10 minutes, not only did not see the rescue team come, but heard a cruise ship starting sound. The sister suspected that their friend had left them alone, and the sister hastened to swim up again. Who knows the next second the shark opens its bloody mouth to pounce. The sister was frightened and quickly swam towards the cage. At this time, the iron cage was stuck by a chain, and the sister tried her best to open the cage, but she let her sister drill into it before being eaten by the shark. The shark treats the sisters as an ocean sacrifice and frantically ramps and bites the cage, opening a huge gash in Thailand. Although the shark can't come in for a while, the two sisters are in bigger trouble at this time. The sisters' oxygen is not much left, and the sisters is about to run out. If the rescue team does not appear, they will suffocate in the cage. So the sister decided to risk leaving the iron gate to seek help. In order to prevent being attacked by sharks, he had to move as close as possible to the bottom of the sea, but the sharp shark still found his trail. Swimming quickly from behind, he quickly swam to the cave, and the shark's bloody mouth passed by. After a while, all around finally quiet, he thought the shark has gone far, is about to stretch out the hole to sea. Fortunately, rocks blocked the attack of the shark. At this time he found a bright light ahead of him, and confirmed that the rescuers were there. He hurried. The top swam to the direction of the light, but only found an open flashlight. Along the direction of the flashlight search, he finally found the rescuers, who knew the next second shark suddenly appeared. By the time he found a rescuer, he was dead from a shark attack. He removed the winch of the crane and the hunting gun from himself and returned to the iron cage where his sister was. After that, he fixed the cable to the iron cage, went some distance upstream, found the signal, and told his friend to pull the iron cage up. This time he was not attacked by a shark, and soon the cage began to rise slowly, and the sisters smiled with excitement as they watched further and further from the bottom of the sea. But who would have thought that the rope could not bear? The weight of the iron cage rose to half. Suddenly the whole tear. The two sisters fell back to the bottom of the sea again. This time they were not so lucky. The elder sister's thigh was trapped under the iron cage, and the younger sister's oxygen was only enough to support the last few minutes. But he swam up quickly and contacted his friends on the boat. After a while, the friend dropped 2 oxygen tanks, and the sister rushed up before the oxygen went to zero. Move quickly to change for themselves, and finally pick up a life from the edge of death. Then he put the flare sent by a friend in his bag, and when his sister was ready to give her another oxygen tank, her sister suddenly lifted her sister and lay down. The original shark in the water appeared again. My sister lying in the middle of the stone did not dare to move. The shark was hovering above him. Thinking that his sister had little oxygen left, he decided to risk throwing the tank into the cage. Just then the shark suddenly appeared. 2 sisters seeking stimulation to see the sharks in the sea, but due to misoperation trapped in the iron cage. A life-saving oxygen tank was not far away, but my sister's legs were trapped under the iron cage and could not reach them. Fortunately, there is a sister picked up in front of the fishing gun. He tried to reach out to catch, who was in the process of dragging. The trigger of the fishing gun just scraped on the screw, a sword pierced his palm, and suddenly he felt the pain of tearing the heart, but finally got it, trying to hook the oxygen tank, but because of unable to find the fulcrum cannot pull away. Seeing that the oxygen index on his body has been marked red, he tried again, and finally hooked the handle of the oxygen tank. He immediately dragged the oxygen tank back. At this time the oxygen on his body has been 0. He hurried to hold his last breath, ready to replace the spare oxygen tank. His head began to sweat, and after a quick change, he was able to attach a backup oxygen mask. But because he inhaled too much oxygen, he fell into a brief coma. Fortunately, it did not take long for him to wake up, and heard the voice of his sister in the intercom. His sister said he was seriously injured by a shark attack. Oxygen is rapidly losing. After listening to the speed of light to save his sister, perhaps the call of affection gave him strength, and he cleverly placed the inflatable cushion under the cage, injected gas through constant pressure, and finally began to slowly lift the iron cage up. Then she gritted her teeth, pulled her legs out from under the cage with all her might, and kept flashing her flashlight to look for her sister. The two sisters kept talking, and the older sister soon found the younger one. At this time, my sister was seriously injured, lying in the stone crevice. My sister supported my sister upstream together. They lit flares to avoid sharks to attack again. Halfway through the swim, the flare goes out and they have to replace it, but in their haste they lose the other one. Just as they lit their last flare, the sisters were horrified when they spotted a school of sharks hovering overhead. The sharks circled around them, trying to attack, using their flares as a weapon against them. Soon, the flares went out, and the friends on the boat asked them to untie the oxygen tanks and release the weight. In this way, they break through the sharks and swim quickly to the surface of the sea. The friend threw a lifebuoy to them, and they finally grasped the straw. Just when everyone thought they were saved, the shark sprang up, bit the sister in the thigh with one bite, and dragged her back into the sea. This time, he suddenly became a female handsy, and kept picking at the shark's eyes with his hand, which broke free from the shark's bloody mouth. Teammates once again brought the two sisters aboard and gave them emergency treatment. However, lying on the boat sister was aware that something was wrong. He had clearly left the ocean, scratched the palm of why is still spraying upward. Turns out it was all an illusion. Before changing the oxygen mask, because of excessive intake of oxygen content, there was an illusion. Just to save his sister's picture is his imagination. In fact, he has been pressed under the water. Fortunately, the rescue team found him. He successfully rescued from the bottom of the sea, but the sister will always sink here. I believe that after the sister was successfully saved, we'll never do such a dead thing.